top story, YouTube channel Turnin has been missing in action for over 2 years now. This sudden disappearance has bystanders in awe of what may have happened with this small-town treasure. The question at hand, is this the end of Turnin?
Father and son duo scavenging the web, now leaving the web, leaves viewers in question of what will happen to the future of Turnin.
Hey guys, I know we've been missing in action for quite some time now. Unfortunately, we've had some things that arose in the background of the channel that's just kind of left us at a standstill of waiting on God to see what He has in store next for our lives.
This just in, word on the street, Turnin has been restored, but not like you might imagine.
We just started over from nothing. We decided to start another channel and we called that channel Restored. We were still trusting in God that Turnin was going to be restored. So I guess you would say that we started out on our YouTube venture around August of 2017 with our channel called Turnin. Me and Dad had the shop going alive here since around 2008, so we'd been trying to get this shop up and rolling for around 8 years.
We had been doing paint and body work for a while, starving to death here in Bogota, and then just decided that, you know, this was the route that God was leading us.
We were kind of making ends meet, I guess you would say, with the locals as far as bringing in jobs and stuff like that, and really needed something else to help branch out, to try to make our business a little more successful.
After school, I would come up to the shop and bother them while they worked. You know, at that time they had been a paint and body collision job is what they did, and so it's kind of funny to think that, you know, even then I was a part of the team without even knowing that that was going to be my future.
This all became a kind of a, I guess like just a thought in Lance's mind of possibly doing some YouTube stuff and that. Not anything really that was going to change the world or change our lives or anything in that. I think God had a different plan for us.
We come up with the idea, we wanted to try to do some videos. We wanted to try to put together some videos of how me and Dad go out and find these vehicles, how we would try to build them up, how we would put a little personality onto them with the logos and stuff like that.
We started Turnin just kind of on an idea of getting ourselves out there so that the world could see what we're doing and stuff, that maybe, you know, what we're doing, somebody might enjoy watching.
We started off on that venture and God led us through it. We would begin to find vehicles. We would have people reach out to us about vehicles. He would always supply us with money to buy these vehicles, and we began to film that.
Lance reached out, got hold of a videographer. He came in, he thought it was a great idea. He sat down with us and we talked with him, and we decided let's do this and see what we can do with it now.
And we began to film with the customers that we'd meet up with. We began to collect the stories that they had behind the vehicles, and we try to incorporate those stories within the build.
And I think it was a really good combination between the three of us at the time. Lance was not a talker. I thought that I was until I got in front of the camera and realized that I'm not the talker in front of a camera, that Lance is. Lance does a great job at it in that.
It was something that we were doing. We were turning rust, we were buying rust, we were selling rust, but we were also creating rust out of these vehicles with paint jobs and stuff to kind of recreate patina, preserve the patina, bring back the patina on them. So that's kind of how the name Turnin come about there.
We decided when we started the Turnin channel that, you know, we were going to be ourselves. We weren't going to do any drama. We didn't want any fighting. We didn't want any cussing. We wanted to praise God through all of this. We wanted it to be God's channel.
I had just started high school when Dad and Bub started Turnin' Rust. I watched a couple of the episodes. I wasn't a very big car fanatic, so it wasn't something that I was always interested in watching, but I knew that Dad and Bub always worked really hard on it, and they were very passionate about it.
It all started with an old pickup that we were going to go pick up in that. It was just left out in the woods. We thought, well, we'll just go out there and we'll show us cutting it out of the trees. And really a really good video in that, in my opinion. It was something that had a lot of struggle, and I think that God took this opportunity to take what we were doing and promote us.
As time went on, our channel began to grow, and we tried to continually produce content to put it out there. We weren't doing a whole lot super good on getting them out there quickly. Some of our videos would be 3 to 4 months in between posting videos, and at that time that was okay for YouTube, or at least it was for us. It seemed like with our growth, we had hit 10,000 subscribers in about a year, which for us, we were super excited. That was a huge goal for us to hit, and we were just excited to see what God was doing here, how He was continuing to provide, and how He was beginning to grow our Turnin' Rust channel.
I remember the struggles of, of trying to get to the top. I remember, hitting their first 10,000 subscribers and being super excited about that. And at the time, we all thought that they were practically famous at that time.
We continued to grow. We were doing some builds on Turnin' Rust. We did the Ecto build. We did the Fireball build. We did the old Metro that went to Ireland. So there was a lot of builds we would do on Turnin' Rust, as well as the Will It Runs in between.
I remember, me and Mom going to our first official big car show with Ghostbusters. We went on the trip with that, and I think that's when it really hit me that, wow, like, people actually know my family. Like, they're coming up here, they're saying, oh, you're Turnin' Rust. It was a really cool feeling of, oh wow, this is legit. This isn't just, a hobby they're doing. This is a lifestyle. This is something that's gonna make it big.
One day we decided that we would go ahead and do a video, a Will It Run style video, on an old Opel GT that we had picked up for much of nothing, around 200 bucks. Kind of fought that car off screen. You guys didn't see a whole lot of what was going on, but pretty much a give up on that video, on thinking that car was going to run. Ended up posting that video, not knowing exactly what kind of views or anything we were going to get from it. It was a lot of a different style than what we had been putting on our Turnin' Rust channel. And we posted it on there, and the thing ended up going viral.
I remember the Turnin' Rust when it finally went viral with the Opel video. I mean, Dad used to keep up with that all the time. It was constantly like showing me, look, this is many views, this many views. And it was cool to me, but it was cooler to me to see, Dad and Bub excited about something like that. And it was just nice to know that, their hard work had paid off at that time.
Having a viral video on your channel, when it starts really growing that fast, it's kind of hard to understand or comprehend or take it all in, because you're just growing so quickly out of the blue. We'd put so much hard work and time into this channel to grow, and then all of a sudden one video just makes you just climb and pass millions of views that you never expected to get. So we grew from around 30,000 subscribers at that time to over 200,000 subscribers in just a couple of weeks. The channel just really took off. So that video now has around 30 million views, I think.
They grew like crazy with that video. And it was something that, it had to be a God thing on that, because it wasn't It wasn't the greatest video, you know, it was something normal, you know, that they would normally post. It wasn't like it was a, you know, grand video, you know, all this and that with all the thrills of it. It was just a God thing on that.
It was going along really well. We were really enjoying ourselves. Sometimes there was a few struggles here and there, which you're always going to have on anything that you're trying to do. Satan's going to make sure of that. But we just kind of took things as it came to us in that, and then it seemed like something started happening. Something that we weren't able to control, but we could see it coming in a way. There was some issues behind the scene that were brewing, that we were hoping that we could work out, but it wasn't anything that was something we could fix.
We were probably at one of the highlights of the Turnin Rust channel when we had some issues arise in about June of 2020. So that kind of put a stop to us posting content on the channel. We literally went from being able to be on Turnin Rust one day to not being able to touch it the next.
The channel wound up being tied up in some litigation. It was quite the struggle, you know, trying to understand why this was happening. You know, we were at a point where we thought that God was really pushing us. I mean, our channel had grown like drastically. It was an amazing thing to see God working. It was one of those things that we had to be in. Life throws those things at you that you can't avoid. You have to learn. You have to move on. We felt like when we were going through this, you know, how are we going to be able to afford this? You know, we're trying to fight for a channel that was ours, that we had no income coming in from. We couldn't afford a lawyer. You know, we couldn't. You know, we had to rely on God.
We witnessed Him in so many different ways providing for us. We witnessed God would provide to us in so many ways financially. In so many ways, He would open up so many doors that were so unexpected. And when He did, though, our eyes would be open and we could see it, and we knew it was God, and we knew it was Him moving, and it was just so humbling to know that through our hard times, God knew exactly where we were at.
So we started it back from nothing. The other channel had at that point, had about 400,000 subscribers, and was growing steadily. It was hard to look back and think, you know, this channel was doing so great, now we're going to start over with zero. But God had a plan.
We just started over from nothing. We decided to start another channel, and we called that channel Restored. We felt like that's what God was leading us in the direction of calling that channel. Not because on our channel we really had never done a whole lot of restoration, so the name Restored really had nothing to do with what we were doing, but it was what God was doing in the background, what He had restored in our lives, and what we had faith in that He was going to continue to restore in our lives.
This channel was going to show us restored. You know, not necessarily the cars, but it had that second meaning, but more so that we were restored. You know, that this channel was going to be restored, that we were going to get out there and put it out there God's way.
Not really knowing exactly if it was going to be successful, how long it was going to take to get it up and going. but we did have faith in knowing that God would provide for us. We did know that this was something that we wanted to continue to do, and so we just did that. We started over.
Right around that time, COVID hit. Kind of strange. My youngest daughter, Christian, was a senior in high school when that happened, and she had been planning on going to school to be a teacher, but the opportunity came that we needed somebody to come in and help video. So I mentioned to her that that we could use some help if she was interested, and she was all for it. At that time, COVID had everything locked down. There was nothing going on anywhere that she could do.
I had just got out of high school. I didn't even get a graduation. So it's just kind of crazy how God timed that out. Had I been, a junior and not a senior, I wouldn't have been able to take, a spot on the restored team. Had I went to college and became a teacher and all that, I wouldn't have been able to be on the restored team. So it's cool how God will plan things out.
As you guys know, we're going out in the woods, we're going out in the barns, we're doing a lot of things most girls would have no interest in at all. So I wasn't exactly sure how well this would work out. And as soon as she picked up a camera, as soon as she started filming some stuff, as soon as she started editing some stuff, I found out she had the same passion inside of her for creating this content as I did. So this turned into not only a father and son thing, this turned into a bigger family affair at this point.
There's 16 years difference in their ages, so they didn't really have that close-knit brother-sister relationship before this point.
I was already out of the house whenever she was, growing up at the age to be able to remember a whole lot. I was already out of the house, going to school, going to college and stuff like that. So a large part of her life, I wouldn't say I missed, but I just wasn't directly involved the way I was with my other sister.
He was in college. I believe he was in Wyoming. He really wasn't somebody I was constantly seeing growing up. So we never really had that, close relationship that we would have had if I was, 2 years apart, 4 years apart.
Once they started working together, they found that new brother-sister love that was amazing to watch from the sideline there.
With Restored, me and my brother, have this relationship of, I have a best friend that, all along, I've had a best friend that I didn't even know I had, and it's funny, how alike we think. We're very cut from the same cloth kind of people, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad.
One of our first videos on Restored was on an old Scout that we had actually found on the Turnin Rust channel. So we picked it up, we brought it back to the shop, and we just learned how to put this new restored content together.
It was a struggle. It was one of those things that we started out, I had no experience other than just being what little bit I was in front of the channel. Lance was trying to juggle being in front of the camera, being behind the camera, being the final say on things. He stepped up and did a great job.
I remember holding the gimbal thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to be able to carry this all the time. It was heavy. I was shaking. I just wanted it to be so good on my end because I had some shoes I had to fill.
We were learning, we were growing, we were having fun, we were spending time together as a family, and we were continuing to do what we love to do, and that was putting together these videos for an audience that was basically around 5,000 followers at that point.
In the meantime, we're still going through litigation on Turnin Rust. every time it seemed like it was time to pay the lawyers, you know, in our minds we're like, you know, we know we've got a bill coming up, we know we're going to owe them. God would somehow give us a sponsorship, or we would have a great month of views that month, and was able to pay our lawyer and kept them paid up. I mean, right up until the very moment that it was due, we had the money to give him in that. So it was another time that we watched God supply.
Now, was our videos getting 100,000 views overnight in comparison to how it was doing on Turnin Rust? No, we started out with maybe, I don't remember, they were low. They were really low on Restored. Restored was not a channel that just, we went from Turnin Rust and Restored was instantly a success. It took us over a year to reach 100,000 subscribers. And that's an extreme blessing. I said it took us a year to reach 10,000 on Turnin Rust, but it was still not an overnight success with Restored. Restored was growing, and then technically, if you look at it, it was growing faster than we did with Turnin Rust.
It's amazing how God works. He sent the viewers, he sent the subscribers.
And we began to grow, and we worked harder, and we worked harder, and we continued to produce content. Restored began to really excel and take off more and more. We found more followers beginning to comment on our videos, like our videos, just subscribing to our videos.
God is supplying, so we know that we have to continue to fight for this Turnin Rust channel and that.
God was literally restoring us. He was taking something that looked like had been lost, taking something that looked like had been completely ripped away, that was no good for nothing anymore, that was just going downhill, and He restored it for us. He made it better than it was the first time. And that's the amazing thing about God, is He's the God of second chances, and He's done that in my life. He's done that in our channel now. He'll do that in your life. He's no respecter of persons.
Even in the midst of something of falling apart, something that you can't tell what's going to be the future in something, He will always supply a way. He'll always make a way. You know, He's just a just God like that. You know.
We did eventually settle. We felt like, you know, that towards the end that it was looking better for us to get it now, and then one day it was ours.
We were still trusting in God that Turnin Rust was going to be restored. And so we would tell people, you know, don't unsubscribe from Turnin Rust. We are Turnin Rust. We've always been Turnin Rust. We're restored. We're Turnin Rust. And Turnin Rust will be restored. And lo and behold, here we are making a video announcing that Turnin Rust is indeed restored, and we're back. We're back. Me and Dad and Christian, we're Turnin Rust. We're a new team. We're putting together new content, and it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be an absolute blast to see where God takes this. It's been over 2 years now that we've posted any kind of content on Turnin Rust. It's been over 2 years now since we've been able to communicate with our audience on Turnin Rust. So it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be I don't know the word I'm looking for here. I'm butchering it.
It's going to be awesome. And we appreciate y'all hanging in there with us. I think we have some of the best fans that a channel could have. And we're just going to hang on for the ride. We know God will deliver.
We're back. We're back on Turnin Rust. We're staying on Restored. We're going to continue to be posting content on Restored as usual, but we're going to start posting on Turnin Rust as well. We've got some old content that never was released. We're going to put that out first, and then following behind that, we've got some new content that we're going to try to go over and beyond on. that's just our new Turnin Rust content. So bear with us at first. It may be a little hard for us to supply content for both channels, but we feel like that's what God's leading us to do. I mean, I understand that there may be some of y'all that are subscribed to both channels, and we hope that that happens now. We hope that if you're subscribed to Restored and not Turnin Rust, and vice versa, you'll subscribe to both channels. But right now, that's the plan. We feel like God is leading us in that direction, and we know that He's going to supply to be able to make that happen. So we thank y'all so much for all the support. We thank you for following along. We're sorry we've been gone this long, but we're so happy we're back. So we believe y'all feel the same, and we can't wait to see what God does with Turnin Rust in the years to come.